The question I would ask if I was coaching you, I'd say, okay, you did all that, but how did you feel walking out? How do you feel now? That's a habit. Now you're building another muscle, and that muscle is going, oh, I just did that hard thing. And that hard thing is making me feel incredible. And then I'm planting the oak tree today. That's a good thing to be uncomfortable. And sometimes the best things we do in our lives, definitely uncomfortable at the time.
Hey guys, welcome back to another Rest, Eat, Move podcast. It's our first dual podcast in 2026. We've been talking about kind of the content we're creating and the different podcast topics and what's relevant. And I think for today, we really want to kind of clear the noise, clear the chaos. Today's conversation is about if you're confused, you're going to lose. And there's a lot of confusion. I'm confused sometimes. I think you're confused sometimes, Dad. And so today we're going to kind of look at some influencers, some different topics, trends, and debunk some of these things to help create some clarity and how to navigate a little easier. As a reminder, if there's anything you ever need from us, info@ontargetliving.com. We're here to help you, not just record podcasts for the fun of it. So if you have anything you need, we're here to help you. And so what we're going to do today is I'm going to play some clips. We're going to respond to them, react to them. Dad, you don't use much social media, so some of this is going to be, you have no idea what I'm going to play here.
I have no idea.
So this is going to be kind of like, to start today, just listen along. We're going to try to answer some questions, but the goal is how to alleviate some of the confusion. So let's start with something really popular right now, these proteins.
And needs to have at least 120 grams of protein a day. Eat 2 eggs and 1 cup of egg whites in the morning for 40 grams of protein to start your day. Eat 200 grams of extra lean ground beef for 42 grams of protein at lunch. And because I know you're in a rush and it's been a long day, eat 2 ratio protein Greek yogurts for dinner for 50 grams of protein. This is 130 grams of protein, and you'll be able to stay in your caloric deficit. And once this bores you to tears, you can substitute with tuna, chicken, cottage cheese, and whey protein. Now you have no excuses to not get over 120 grams of protein daily. Every woman needs to have at least 120 grams of protein a day. Eat 2 eggs and 1 cup of egg.
So that's a common thing happening right now is everyone needs more protein.
I've already got an upset stomach. That's ridiculous.
So, Peter Tia goes on 60 Minutes, says everyone needs 200 grams of protein. There's a ton of female influencers that tell their audience that they're going to need to consume more protein. What'd you notice in this video?
Well, it's so unrealistic, number one. And so you're putting this is what you have to have. Oh my gosh, I would be, talk about gut health. My eyes would be bopping out. I can't sleep at night.
But what's unrealistic? Let's get really specific because I think there's a lot of people listening to this.
Well, I'll just go back in time. My first bodybuilding contest in 1985, I was consuming about 200 grams of protein a day. And all I did is get more fat. But I had to have that nitrogen balance because when you break down amino acids, your body produces nitrogen. And that's what your body uses to build and repair, right? So for most people, depending, I said this one of the, if I'm not a lumberjack, I probably don't need more than about 0.5 gram per pound of body weight.
Okay.
If I'm super active, I might need 0.75. And who the heck is measuring, number one? I'm not measuring. So I think that's the big thing right there is like, if you just eat live, real food, you're probably going to get plenty of protein.
And this is an honest question. Are you familiar with this amount of noise on this?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
But do you see these videos? Tank tops?
I see them sometimes, and those are the questions. In fact, when you're speaking, the question we always get is how many grams of protein should I be eating? I never get how many grams of carbohydrates should I be eating.
But you're 68 years old, and I think one of the things that maybe you're not as exposed to as 20, 30-year-old females, the amount of impact an influencer can have and the amount of noise around this more protein dialogue. Yeah, and you noticed in that video, cottage cheese, and it doesn't matter what kind as long as it has protein.
Yeah, protein. So again, I can go to 7-Eleven, get beef jerky and get enough protein, but is that really what I want to do? And then you got to look at the cascade effect down the road. If I have all this protein, what's going to happen to my gut health? What's happening to my nervous system? What's happening to my kidneys?
So I think that's a big takeaway.
We're not thinking about that.
Yeah, gut health is interesting. You know, when we're going to get into carbs and different weird conversations that people are having on the internet. But if you eat lean protein, if you ate 130 grams of protein and you weren't having crazy symptoms, you'd probably lean up. Is that true?
Probably. Mm-hmm. But you're cutting something else. Usually when you have...
But when do you notice that? You know, when you were bodybuilding in your 20s and early 30s and you were doing 200 grams of protein, you probably to the average person looked really good.
Yeah, when I was competing, but during the time I was doing all that protein, my skin issues started coming back. My gut health, that wasn't like it was before that.
You could see how people overlook that.
Oh, gosh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can see how they go. But again, why do we want to go to these such extremes? Number one. Number two is, who in the heck wants to consume all these eggs and cottage cheese and...
Well, let's talk about this. Egg beaters for a lot of these influencers is probably the hack or cheat to get a lot of protein because you're not getting the fat from the egg yolk.
Yeah, just consume all these egg whites. We talked about that 100 years ago. But again, why would I want to egg? Where's the egg beater egg coming from? So now we're decreasing the quality of what we're eating. We're just eating protein.
There's some people out there that would say it doesn't matter. The body biologically is going to break down 25 grams of protein from an egg beater or 25 grams?
We always ask, does a calorie equal a calorie? And I think anybody that has common sense would realize that's not true.
But I think the common sense has gone out the window.
Well, that's why we're having this conversation.
Macronutrients. Yeah, and that's why.
I mean, so let's get back to what do you really need? You only need about a half a gram. Okay. Unless you're amazingly active.
So for everyone listening, he's pretty calm right now, but I'm going to get him a little bit sideways here. So here's our next woman talking about diet soda and it's better than water.
This is how much fat you would lose drinking water. And this is how much fat you would lose drinking Diet Coke.
Let me explain. There was a study done in 2015 on two different groups. One was allowed to drink water, the other diet sodas. And at the end of the year, the one with the sweetener group lost more body fat. And not only that, they kept it off longer. The water group didn't. They put it right back on. There's many people on the internet that will demonize this and say things like sweeteners make the body store more fat, or after drinking this, your body's gonna crave more calories. There's just no hard evidence to back this up. And I'm not telling you to just drink diet sodas and not drink water. I'm telling you not to be scared to drink this. Studies have proven that diet sodas are a great tool for fat loss and to keep it off forever.
So this same woman is all about protein and counting and this makes you lean and this doesn't make you lean. For example, egg beaters are going to make you lean. The whole egg are going to make you not lean. So what do you think about this new study?
Well,
I'm not sure where the study came from.
Then she's saying, well, I mean, she contradicts everything she's saying, but the bottom line is, okay, anybody, if you got 3 young kids, are you going to give your kids diet sodas? And the answer would be absolutely not. And again, back to what she's not even talking about. I used to say, how does a diet soda make you gain weight? That was one of my skits on stage. Well, and people say, well, it's the artificial sweetener, it's this or it's that. No, it's the body. It makes the body more acidic. As time goes on, now my body becomes more acidic. So now I might. I'm substituting. Now I'm not eating enough as calories because that's how I'm eating my calorie. People are doing that with, coffee. They're going to put a couple sweeteners in their coffee, but now I'm replacing food. So there's so many things. But the big thing when you look at diet soda is it's extremely acidic for the human body, which causes havoc. So now my hair's a mess. My skin looks terrible. My digestion's bad. I have decreased bone health. I mean, she's not talking about anything except losing some weight short term.
We've both seen a lot of people that look pretty healthy, and maybe metabolically and genetically they're kind of blessed with that look aesthetically. But how many bodybuilders and people that were going after aesthetics had terrible gut health that you knew throughout your career?
Most of them.
So that's to me like So again, I don't know enough about this woman, and maybe she's doing some
you
great
could
things.
see the same thing. Like we were just coming back from Chicago and we stopped to get some water at one of the convenience stores, and on the front of it, there's a gigantic sign of Celsius, and it was all about no calories, no carbs, it's again beginning of the year, and so the marketing is incredible. So again, when you look at these energy drinks or diet sodas. Again, like you just common sense has gone out the window.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot more conversation around gut health, and we'll get into that as some takeaways today. But watching this is just like makes me hurt. 20,000 people like this video, over 500,000
because
people
they like
watched.
to drink diet sodas.
I
So
know.
you're reinforcing a bad habit. Like, hey, just drink some diet sodas. So again, let's.
All right, we'll go off this topic, but this one more, and I think this is kind of to sum it up.
Is not a protein source. Neither are nuts, neither is beans, quinoa. All of these things have protein in them, but they are not a protein source. An easy way to tell if something is a good source of protein or not is to take the amount of grams of protein it has, times that by 10, and if it's more than the calories of the item, it's a good source of protein. Chicken breast, for example, for 120 calories of chicken breast, you're getting 26 grams of protein. If you times 26 by 10, you get 260. That's way more than 110. Great source of protein. Something like peanut butter, for 190 calories, you're only getting 8 grams of protein. If you times 8 by 10, that's only 80, nowhere near 190. Not a good source of protein. Feel free to use the next time you're trying to figure out if something is a good source of protein or not. Peanut butter is not a protein source. Neither are nuts, neither is beans, quinoa.
You're right. I would get upset. I would probably have an imbalanced nervous system watching these stupid videos.
Yeah, and this is there's thousands. Thousands. And I was at an event yesterday with a group of people, no one with any expertise necessarily or different than anyone else, but that's who's watching these. Mm-hmm. And that's what's happening when you think about where did clear protein powder come from? It came from influencers driving the marketplace, these people in the gym rats that you used to be. And I think that's a bad name for somebody trying to passionate about being fit. This is as
So let's just use my oatmeal on the run today. There's no animal protein in I'm not eating chicken this morning. I had blueberries, raisins, pecans, some pumpkin seeds, shredded coconut, cacao nibs, real organic thick rolled oats, unsweetened almond milk, cinnamon. None of those would fit this interpretation of protein.
well. Then let's just watch this.
That pisses me off is oatmeal, because oatmeal is peasant food. It's what they would feed the peasants just to keep them alive. But oatmeal sucks minerals out of your body because it's high in phytic acid, and it spikes your blood sugar more than ice cream. So I would rather give my kids my recipe for ice cream that's high in good protein, high in good fat, and high in even some sugar versus oatmeal. So it is not a superfood by any measure. It's just marketed as one because it costs 2 cents, and you'll pay $3 for it if it's marketed as cold overnight oats with fairy sprinkles. I have no idea. I don't eat that crap. Have I shown enough disrespect for oatmeal? Number one
Did you
food
know I
that
was gonna
pisses.
say that?
No.
You just teed it up and I
Yeah.
went into your web.
But that, and there's another one here that says no sugar is ever good for you. No, not even fruit, not even.
So let's go back to the oatmeal. So the first thing we always talk about is the source. Where's your oatmeal coming from? Is it coming from the processed garbage, sweetened? No, I'm talking about the real deal. And then you're bringing all these nutrients in it, antioxidants, fiber, proteins, fats, carbohydrates, amazing gut health. Cacao nibs is high in magnesium. Coconut's high in magnesium. Oatmeal's high in magnesium. So now we're letting the body. So when you think about nutrition, number one, I always tell people, how do you fuel the body to be its best? You have to have nutrients, right?
Where does this
I don't
the
know.
lectins that are bad for you, and the carnivore MD who's talking about the properties of plants and how it's going to kill us? Why is that? Did this exist when you were
No, well,
first got
obviously,
in this?
you don't have social media and the internet and all that kind of stuff. But my grandmother lived in 98, Grandma Strachan. And she turned me on to oatmeal when I was probably 6 years old. I've been eating oatmeal for the last
a long time,
60 plus years. In fact, every bodybuilding contest that I compete in, I'm eating the same oatmeal. So when people say all the time, I'd run into these bodybuilders, and I remember talking to this guy, and he goes, "Yeah, I remember you speaking at such and such, and man, I can't wait to have my oatmeal again." And he goes, "What do you got in your bag? This is my day of competing." I said, "Well, I got my you've been eating oatmeal?" I go, "I eat oatmeal every day."
What about the leaching of the minerals? Like, are they making these things up?
I mean, where's that come from?
I don't know.
How would it leach out minerals? In fact, it's making your body more alkaline to preserve your minerals. Getting up in the morning and having I don't know how many eggs you said, or cottage cheese. Again, yeah. I'm not bashing eggs at all. I love eating poached eggs and stuff like that. But now you're making your body very acidic, so that's leaching the minerals out.
Yeah.
So this is nonsense.
Or it spikes your glucose more than ice cream. I mean, is that the most harmful thing you can say?
So if I'm eating real oatmeal,
yeah.
You talk about glycemic index. Is it broken down? Is it processed? Whatever. And yeah, it might spike your blood glucose level if you're eating garbage, right? But if I'm eating the real thick rolled oats, again, oat groats rolled into cut to steel into rolled oats, that's the purest part of the oat. And now I'm eating some coconut and some fat and
so if
proteins.
It's instant with the maple and brown sugar.
But that's not what's being taught.
Yeah.
But that's what people go,
yeah,
I just can't eat oatmeal.
I walked you into that one.
Well, I liked it.
All right, let's go off something that's kind of driving us crazy right now, and it's let's see where I want to take this. I think the most harmful thing happening in our society is to just blanket statements saying that something is genetics when there's more to it than just genetics. There's epigenetics, there's lifestyle, there's environmental, there's stress, and all these different things that turn these switches on. We know so much about genetics, but it is easy just to say, well, you test for this gene and you have this issue. So this is Mel Robbins, one of the top podcasts in the world, with the doctor talking about obesity.
Weight, or who may be struggling with the disease of obesity. What do you want them to hear from you, Dr. Salas Whalen?
I want to say that I'm sorry in behalf of the healthcare providers. We didn't know better and we failed you. I've been humbled by my patients and we got it wrong. We got it all wrong. Science advances like everything, right? Medicine is an evolving science, and we are aware, and we will do everything we can to fix it.
Why do you think it's important for us to really think about this issue of obesity being a disease or somebody who's struggling with their weight?
So keep watching these.
This have known that obesity was a disease, at least for the past 10 years.
Yes, we have. Actually, longer than that.
Okay, longer than that.
Longer than
okay,
that, yeah.
Okay. And how did we all miss the memo?
Well, it's one thing for a medical association to declare obesity as a disease, right? So the AMA declared obesity as a disease in 2013. The WHO declared it as a disease in 1948. And actually, we already knew that obesity was a disease back in Egyptian times. It's another thing to say that it's because of biology and to understand that there's a biology that is driving that obesity. And it wasn't really until the mid-1990s with the discovery of leptin, which is a hormone made by our fat, that we started to understand that hormones communicate with the brain and that can lead to obesity biology.
One more.
Trying to get out to people is willpower is not going to work if you have obesity. And all this time, I did not know that I was carrying a chronic disease that caused me to overeat and caused my set point or enough point to continually go back to a weight that was undesirable to me. All this time, I've struggled and fought thinking, if I just diet, if I just work out, if I just put down my fork, is what everybody says, move a little, eat less.
Yes. Move more, eat less.
And that doesn't work if your biology says that you're going to gain the weight no matter what. So
So that's going gangbusters right now. She's got a new book. Serena Williams' husband is one of the number one investors in Roe who has this new weight loss pill. So they're the first ones to have a pill instead of the shot. When you hear this, like, where does your brain take you? What do you want people to know when you hear this stuff?
Well, I think what you're doing is you're giving people a false hope. And so I think that's the problem you see right now, that you're just going to throw the baby out with the bathwater, that the other stuff doesn't really matter. And we don't, in our DNA, we've seen transformations with people. So I think the big thing is right now is you're just saying, hey, there's nothing I can do, so this is my only option. And it could be an option for a small segment of our population. But, one of the things we do at the very beginning of our presentations is we have to break down the barriers and we have to talk about beliefs. And one of the beliefs we talk about very quickly is that if you ask the question in 1970, back to genetics, was there obesity? And there wasn't. Less than 10% of the population in the United States in 1970. You fast forward to 1990, hardly very little changes in obesity in 1990. And then all of a sudden, the year 2000, the South and the Midwest, we're seeing 30+% obesity. And then today we're 35, 40% obesity across the board. So you got to ask the question, was it genetics that changed? The answer is no. We haven't changed our genetics in the last, decade, 2 decades, 3 decades. It's that our environment completely changed. Stress has never been higher, schedules, stress financially, emotionally, our food environment. We were just driving back from Chicago yesterday. Everywhere you go, it's easy to get processed, unhealthy food. We don't move as much anymore because we don't have to. You start putting it all together. So you have to break that barrier down at the very beginning, because in that obesity realm, you could put type 2 diabetes. In 1960,
you could put all disease.
Yeah. Well, 1960, when you think about type 2 diabetes, not type 1, in 1960, 1 in 4,000 people had type 2 diabetes.
Do you think the Genome Project is obviously very beneficial potentially of discovering different things, but is it like a Whoop in a sense where, or not just Whoop, or Ring, or data in general, or information overload? Do you think sometimes we think there's just one singular answer and that's just where medicine always wants to go? Like what's the cure to cancer? I think that's always that's a scary, emotional conversation, but how could there be a cure for cancer when cancer...
Well, this is, again, you could talk about aging. There's lots of different ways. But imagine if you knew exactly when you were going to die. How would things change? And so what if you didn't know that? What if it was a mystery? What's possible? So to me, when you think about life, we know none of us have a crystal ball. But imagine if you could develop a lifestyle. I mean, I was listening to Dave Ramsey today, and get your money back, get your finances back. Jade Warshar was coming out with a new book, and it was a live thing, and I had to laugh. He talked about his beginning, whatever. But the bottom line at the end of it was there's a lot of noise, but we have principles that we follow, and this is what we believe in, and we've seen major transformations with people. It's no different than what we talk about. So I think that's you gotta go back. The genetics is a real thing.
So I looked up. So when she says biology and Oprah has the gene, I looked it up, and it's not that simple. There's not one gene. There's several different genes. There's a couple genes that they pinpoint, and you look it up, and about 50% of society has that gene. And you go back to 1970, what you're saying is our genes at that moment are the same or very close to what they are today.
Because you weren't getting Uber Eats, you were eating at home. You were eating live food.
You weren't taping 7 shows a week.
Right.
On the go, people are feeding you.
And then we know, when the doctor talks about hormones, well, let's go back to hormones. How do they work? Your stress hormones are on, when you're lean.
I just put you into another web. Let's watch this one. This is Dr. Mike interviewing another doctor.
Coming in requesting hormone tests. Unless you have a very specific clinical indication, they're completely meaningless.
And why are people recommending them?
Oh, because they hear about it online.
Yeah, what are those people online saying?
Well, I think you need to be in tune with your body, right? You need to know, you need in tune. They use words that we would not recognize as medical, that we would recognize as quasi-medical. Many times these people are also selling supplements to optimize your menstrual cycle, right? And it's like, well, okay, but your hormone levels change every day. Maybe we need to check your iron level. Maybe we need to do a ferritin, because iron deficiency grossly underappreciated in women who menstruate. We look at women under the age of 24, 23, I think it's almost like 40% are iron deficient. So there may be tests if you don't feel well, but it's not those tests. One of the big...
So she's saying, when we talk about it a lot, but you should know your hormones. And so this doctor's saying that she gets a lot of people coming in and want the hormones and you don't need to know. I just think that's so crazy. You got one side saying obesity is biological and genetics, and then you got these two doctors that have this opinion that you don't have much control. It changes, and you don't have control over it changes, that you shouldn't know your hormones. What do you think about that?
Well, you could kind of get into the whole TRT, testosterone replacement conversation with this whole thing. It's like, number one is information is, the knowledge is power. So when I sit down with people and they're struggling with weight, the first thing I want to do is give them a snapshot, and we get into stress and lifestyle and do they have enough rest and rejuvenation in their life? But give me your testosterone level for both men and women. Then I see that, and now we have some ammunition saying, hey, this is where you were, this is where you are today, this is how we can improve it. And by the way, if your testosterone level is at a balanced level, you're probably going to be a little bit more, obviously, healthy, but you're going to be more lean. And that's why you see a lot of people taking testosterone replacement therapy, because they want to be leaner.
We get a lot of people that we tell them to know your numbers. They go to the doctor says you don't need to know these things, and they fight back and they have all these things. Why so much defensiveness potentially for an individual taking a little bit more responsibility in their health?
Well, again,
once upon a time, there was a doctor, and the doctor was right 100% of the time. And you had to go there for the doctor to...
So I think it's February 11th, we're having the
Know Your Numbers.
Know Your Numbers, where we're going to get into the details of this. I think a lot of it has to do with, number one, lack of knowledge, and number two, what's in my toolbox. So if somebody comes to see me or you, and I don't have it in my toolbox, I'm going to refer. I'm the quarterback. We've talked about this before. If I don't know X, Y, I might refer
the patient, the client.
The client, the customer. So I'm going to figure out what's the best for the customer, not what's best for me. So if somebody comes in and wants their testosterone, I want to know how this is looking. Why in God's green earth would we not give that number? Number two, if I do that testosterone and I get it back, what's in my toolbox? Is it going to be testosterone replacement therapy? Is it going to be eating more pumpkin seeds and Brazil nuts? Is it going to be getting more sleep? Is it going to be getting more strength training? You can see how this starts to snowball. So why would I want to open up that can of worms if I don't have a pill or a shot or some remedy for that?
Yeah. All right, so I thought this was funny. It's a little change of pace, but it kind of sums up what we're talking about.
Weights. I need to take creatine. I need to increase my protein. I need to increase my... I need a weighted vest. I need to wear more sunscreen. I need to take magnesium. I need to take collagen. Do I need a vibration plate? I need a sauna, and you need to build one. I need to get blood work done. I need to sleep earlier. I need electrolytes. I need to stop drinking coffee. I need to regulate my cortisol. I need to lift heavier weights. I need to take...
And I think that's kind of why we're doing this, is like, when do you stop? The supplements, to me, obviously we promote cod liver oil and the super greens, but at the end of the day, I mean, really what we're basing that on is what people have deficiencies or gaps in. But if we keep going on this path of like everything has to be isolated and specific, and you have this gene and you take this and you do this and the blood tests, and now we're going to take allergic things, and a lady told me that her friend has got a test and she's allergic to chicken. It's like, I mean, it's gonna be Jetsons.
Yeah, let's take this for this. It's whack-a-mole. What am I gonna do next? So, I just did an event last month in Cincinnati, and the question was, how about hot and cold therapy? Well, do people really get up and take an ice bath every day for 10 minutes? I mean, you could, but let's get back to real world. What can I do? And then, we've looked at some of the people that are trying to live, to 200 years. How could you possibly fit all that in a single day?
Yeah, unless you're a billionaire and that's all you're doing your life to.
Yeah, you're George Costanza, you're in the bubble. So the challenge is like, what is real, and what's
the art? What's the science?
Yeah, what's the art and science?
And the art is always going to be what you lead with, because that's the behavior change. Like, if the science says that you need to sleep in a hyperbaric chamber, well, you don't have enough money for a hyperbaric chamber. So what's the art?
Have I really been missing sleeping in a hyperbaric chamber all these years? So that's what we go back. I was,
and there's hacks and there's shortcuts and there's things. Yeah.
But the key is, like, I was working with this guy that had a heart attack, and one of the things we were discussing is no different in the financial services arena. You build a process and away you go. And he goes, you know what? I can do this. This is working for me. So that's again, I think the reason why you want to throw all these. There's a lot of noise out there.
Okay, so this one is about carbohydrates.
We have one more of these?
Oh, I have more, but we can kind of wrap this up here soon. But there's a lot of conversation that carbohydrates are not essential. Proteins are essential. Fats are essential. Carbohydrates, there's no essentials. So this is Dr. Peterson with another guru.
There's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate.
Right. That's something to be said repeatedly, because that's really kind of shocking.
It is. We have, a daily requirement for certain essential fats, certain, fatty acids like omega-3 and omega-6 fatty acids. Yep. Protein is massively important.
Yep.
There's no such thing as an essential carbohydrate, which isn't to say that you shouldn't eat them.
Right. But it's very strange. That's not essential.
Correct. There's no such.
Okay, hold on.
Such a good thing as good sugar?
No. People often believe that if the sugar is coming from a fruit and is for example in a fruit smoothie that they might have in the morning, that's good sugar, but that sugar that's in a cake is bad sugar. So people tend to compare these two and say, oh, well, I'm having a fruit smoothie that's good for me, but oh, that chocolate cake would be bad for me. That's a total lie. It's all the same molecules. Fruit smoothie and the molecules in that chocolate cake are the same. It's sucrose. It's the same stuff, and your body does it, whether the sugar is in a fruit smoothie or the sugar is in a chocolate cake. So all sugar is the same. Even, honey, agave, maple syrup, all these things that have these health halos because of marketing, it's all the same molecules. So I recommend that people just have the sugar that they like best. Don't think that one is going to be better for you than the other. And have all sugar as dessert. So that fruit smoothie, that's also dessert. It's not.
So carbohydrates, they're not essential. We'll start there, and then all sugars.
What have we not learned? Back in the day, just go back in time when we cut carbohydrates out of the diet, did a high protein diet, or once you cut it out, you start having other problems. Well, the first thing that starts to change is your gut. So in the gut, 90% of the serotonin is made, neurotransmitter makes us happy, and blah, blah, blah.
70% of your immune system.
SSRIs have never been an all-time high. And then serotonin's a raw material that makes melatonin, which is our sleep hormone. That whole ecosystem is going to be changed. Your nervous system is now going to start to get out of balance. So now my eyes start to bug out. I can't relax. I can't sleep. But here I am losing weight. So what have we learned? When we remember the no fat craze? You probably don't. You were probably born at that time.
I remember.
I was working at Frito-Lay, and we had
Gold's pretzels, fat free.
Right. You had less bread, and you had Entenmann's coffee cake was no fat. You had all the Snackwell cookies. So everybody thought, well, I can just, as long as it doesn't have fat. Well, that was all the carbs. In Seinfeld, they had the fat-free ice cream. It's the same conversation with carbohydrates. And I think that's where we go back. We could shoot so many holes through what she was just talking about. The cell, every molecule, she uses the word molecule. What the heck does that mean? Every molecule that if you approach the cell will look at that, recognize that differently. Broccoli and chocolate cake are not the same. An apple and, chocolate
apple juice,
they're not the same, right? So if I eat an apple, it's not the same as applesauce or apple juice or Apple Jacks or whatever it is, right? So I think that's, again, it's very confusing. Carbohydrates are not essential. So
yeah, I mean, I think
if you take
I get what they're saying. They're not technically something that dietary guidelines have said essential.
Well,
but
let's go back.
Let's go. What's a carb? It gives you energy. I think that's pretty essential. But you can survive.
A carbohydrate is a sugar.
Right.
It's sugars linked together. The longer the sugar chain, the more nutrient value it has. Antioxidants, vitamins, minerals, fiber, all that stuff. The shorter the sugar chain gets in the system very quickly and doesn't have that. So you can't say it's the same thing. Back to the cell, the pH, and the source. So again,
there's a reason why we have the three principles.
There's the three. So we shoot holes through this noise, right? There's other things I would call it, but if I sat down with that person, I don't know how old she is.
I don't know.
It doesn't really matter. But again,
she's everywhere.
And that's complete noise. So we have to step back and say, why are we taking carbohydrates? Sugars or fruit are the most alkalizing of all nutrients in the human body. Alkalizing, which preserves your minerals, makes your gut amazingly healthy. So you can't tell me that eating a banana is the same as eating chocolate cake. Now, is there better ways to make chocolate cake? Sure, you can have better flour and more.
Yeah, and I mean,
sugar.
I've said this a long time, and it's not, I guess, as trendy as this stuff. But if you cut out a macronutrient, one of the three, any of them, you'll have macro problems. We saw it with fat-free. We've seen it with high carbohydrate when you're, the running craze, and we've seen it when you start to cut out carbohydrates. The essential piece. Essential is a interesting word. Peak health and performance, then I would say carbohydrates are definitely essential. About, endurance output. Okay, to have endurance output, you need carbohydrates as a fuel source.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have glycogen stores and you get into anaerobic metabolism right now, we are basically burning fat. Most of our fuels, we're doing nothing. But as the jet fuel gets going in, you got to ask the question, what kind of fuel do they put in dragsters? Not the same as our cars, right? It's no different in the human body. The body's designed amazing, right? We have glycogen stores in the muscle and the liver. And when we need that extra jet fuel running from a bear or tiger, that's there. We don't have that if you take carbohydrates out. So when you talk about essential, I don't know about you, but I want that essential fuel in my body when I need it.
Yeah, and so this is the noise. This is some of the examples. There's a lot more noise, but we'll pause for a second.
Yeah, my heart rate and blood pressure is higher already.
One of my takeaways, and again, I think Oprah has done some amazing things, but I do think, she's selling a book now. And I think at the end of the day, you have to have some common sense. She said a statement, I didn't share it here, but I heard her say it, that this made so much sense to her because she's always struggled with high blood pressure, and that's a disease. And I think, to me, one of the things that frustrates me, everybody wants to know why, and so that disease can answer some questions for people. But I think we've met with a lot of people that have high blood pressure. That's one of those things that, sure, there's a genetic tendency, might run in the family, but I rarely meet somebody that's managing their nervous system, that's moving their body daily, that's eating the right foods, that has the energy, that has the disease of high blood pressure.
Well, she lost me. I mean, like you said, we've been a big fan of Oprah for a long time, but when she got into the whole thing, and
I haven't, but keep going.
Genetics and blah, blah, blah. But when she went into the high blood pressure thing, and she used the same analogy, it's not.
It's not the same.
Your grandma, my mom, had high blood pressure forever. And she always believed that since her sisters had high blood pressure and her brother had high blood pressure, she had high blood pressure. And then over time, we changed as she went in her mid-60s. She changed her whole lifestyle. She had no more high blood pressure. In fact, she had kind of considered low normal blood pressure. So again, the big part we're saying is like
she quit drinking, she quit smoking.
She quit drinking, she quit smoking,
So, I mean,
she started moving, her lifestyle
thing.
changed.
So like to say that I have high blood pressure because my family has high blood pressure, but I don't smoke and they did. I don't eat crappy food, but they did. Like it's so hard to.
And that's why when we do.
And then if you get into the genetics, her genetics are the same as their genetics. But what's epigenetics?
It's above genetics.
Yeah, genetics is the lifestyle that kind of dictate these things. So I think it's a slippery slope we're going on. And with one click of a button right now, I can ship Wegovy or Ozempic shots.
Right.
And I didn't play a couple things on peptides. You know, Dr. Peter Tia, I think there's some good things he's doing. I think there's some noise that he's saying. But, you know, he got asked a question, what's the one thing happening right now that you think is the most, crazy and not needed? And he talks about peptides. And he talks about how they're not really regulated. And it's just all this noise that's happening.
Or
at
like
one
creatine.
time.
It's another.
Well, I got 10 videos on that.
Yeah. So again, go back to the whole thing about genetics. Everybody has genetics. But I think the exciting thing in life is what's possible. Like, what could I do to be my best? And to me, it's not about being perfect, but if I start doing things that I allow myself to be my best, then I put all my chips in. There's nothing else I can do. So that's where I think we get wrong, because if you take those, let's just say it doesn't matter what it is, that shortcut in a sense, the downstream, you have no idea. I mean, we thought Biohacks was a good idea back in the early 90s.
I mean, we can shoot holes in long-term harmful symptomatic symptoms of GLP-1s. Here's an example. So I'm a huge Michael Jordan fan, and none of his kids were really elite basketball players, and it's probably tough to follow. But genetically, they were blessed with the Michael Jordan gene. And then you got Tiger Woods, and his son's looking like he's going to be a pretty good golfer. But you can't overlook the environment, the lifestyle, the exposure. You know, if you were a good golfer and I could mirror you, that's going to set me up for a little more success. Yet genetically, it doesn't always equate.
Right.
So you got people that have great genetics, but didn't have the work ethic, didn't have the passion. And I see that with health is like, I don't know Oprah. I don't know what she does all day, but from afar, it seems like she's been dabbling for 40 years. This thing, selling that book from this thing. And that's what we're seeing across the world of influencers, of people dabbling. They hear this, they take what they want. I like diet soda, so I heard someone say that it's good for me. Or I'm going to eat protein because that makes a lot of sense. It's simple to do. But at the end of the day, I think it requires work.
You know, I love that word dabble. You know, like in Ramsey, they call it Ramsey-ish. They don't really do it. They just ish, right? Yeah. So when you use the word dabble, I have had so many people over the years, and I get, you know, I'm not trying to be, but I'm saying, I'll say the same thing to them. You're constantly dabbling. When are you going to decide to move your chips in and go in and really start believing this? If you don't believe it, you're going to constantly dabble, right? So it's no different in golf or eating or lifestyle, whatever. Let's stop dabbling and let's develop a habit and a process.
And Oprah said she never believed she could lose weight.
She doesn't believe it. That would be my first conversation. Like, what are you saying to yourself? What's the negative?
And there's a lot to unpack there. Yes, trauma and whatever.
I get all that.
Yeah.
But the first thing you have to do is like, let's flip the switch. If the boats, you know, have sailed, what would you do? If you knew on 100% that it was going to work, what would you do? And I think most people would stop dabbling. But they don't quite believe
100%
it.
100% it's going to work, but it requires effort and work.
And
so
uncomfortable.
Today I got up at 6 o'clock, and I had to be prepared because you got 3 kids and talk to Holly, feed Boji, and it's 5 degrees out. So I wanted to go to the gym. It's the only time in the day. Required a little bit of belief. It required a little bit of discipline.
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of stay in bed right when that was going on. I packed a breakfast, I packed a lunch, and then I got to the gym and I had to put in effort there. You know, I could have left a little bit early, but I've been working on some mobility things. It's not easy. And I don't know. I'm very worried about the amount being told of how easy something is or how simple something is or just the prescription approach of doing X, Y, Z. I don't know. From today till tomorrow, I'm going to have a different energy level towards my.
Well, here's another thing, too. The question I would ask if I was coaching you, I'd say, okay, you did all that, but how did you feel walking out? How do you feel now? That's a habit. Now you're building another muscle, and that muscle is going, oh, I just did that hard thing. And that hard thing is making me feel incredible. And then I'm planting the oak tree today. I'm not planting the oak tree 50 years ago. You might, but most people, let's plant the oak tree today. So again, that's a good thing to be uncomfortable. And sometimes the best things we do in our lives, we were definitely uncomfortable at the time.
And I think one of the takeaways, and you got some steps, and I think that's going to be great for the listeners, but where did we come up with all this grams of protein and creatine, and it's good for your brain and the cognition? And I heard a thing about how, Parkinson's is directly related to your gut health. And that was a very interesting perspective. I haven't gone down that. And they now believe that your gut is the first thing that gets damaged before someone can break down a neurological disease like Parkinson's. And it makes so much sense. And so you see all this happening right now where most 20, 30-year-olds are not paying attention to their gut unless they have a gut issue. But your gut is still there, this beautiful garden, communicating to the brain and really protecting the body in so many different ways, absorbing nutrients. But we are being told to consume 200 grams of protein. And that, in my opinion, I've never seen or met somebody that doesn't have gut health consuming too much processed protein.
Well, it's again, if you look back, genetics, because I was taught that, the reason I had psoriasis and eczema and digestive health issues because I had bad genetics.
Yeah.
So, and then I started putting a microscope and having that self-awareness, like, I'm a terrible eater.
The gallon of milk a day was
gallon of milk a day, the beefaroni, the bologna sandwiches, it's this calories. Why does it matter, right? And I always thought you just eat more calories. So then when you start eating differently, gut gets better. Microbiome gets better. The list goes on and on. So we just have to step back and say everybody's got genetics, but the funnest thing at all is what's possible if I could change my behavior.
Yeah, and what does inflammation do to genetics? And that's, to me, like
it's a wrecking ball.
There's a bunch of talking heads talking about inflammation, and the flip side saying it doesn't matter what you eat. Yet we know
right.
that if you consume beefaroni versus making your own tomato sauce and pasta, there's going to be an inflammatory reaction. We know that in Europe they don't use glyphosate on their wheat, and people don't have gluten intolerances because they don't have a glyphosate issue. We know these things. We've seen these things. We've studied these things. But I think there's so much noise that it sometimes what's like attracting our 30-second attention does not mean it's right.
Right.
So take me through your steps, your takeaways here.
Yeah, so when we were getting ready for this podcast, you were, you did a lot of homework and getting ready, but I thought, for the listeners and the viewers, let's give them some takeaways. And again, we talk about this all the time, but you know what? It's the beginning of the year. Let's step one, you got to calm the nervous system. That means I have to have enough rest. I can't have a good gut health. I can't lose weight. It's going to be challenging because if the nervous system is out of balance, those hormones, back to that.
Okay, pause for a second. Calm nervous system. Tell me about when you don't have a calm nervous system and your absorption of protein.
Well, how can you have good digestion if I have an imbalanced nervous system? If I'm running from the tiger, I'm not having any good digestion.
So I'm overworking out. I'm adding 200 grams of protein. I'm sleeping 6 hours a night.
Yep.
Or I'm more calm, getting 8 hours of sleep, and I'm consuming 75 grams to 100 grams of protein. Which person do you think is more optimal?
I mean, it's walk outside, get some sunlight.
Okay.
Work on your breathing.
Calm nervous system. I love that.
Calm nervous system is number one. Number two,
putting the phone down.
There's lots of things. Getting a massage. We don't get into the weeds, but just say step one is I need to have a calm or balanced nervous system. You can't have good gut health
before peptides, before collagen,
you can't do that.
Creatine.
Your hormones are not going to do what you want. So again, if you don't have a calm nervous system, you can't have good testosterone for both men and women.
You're in survival.
And you're going to have a
thriving.
hard time losing weight because your stress hormones are on all day. All right, so that's number one. Number two is you want to have optimal digestion. Like, okay, step two, I got to improve my digestion. Back to what I consume, 120 grams of protein. The answer would be no. You are primed in the morning for optimal digestion. So after I've fasted 12 to 14 hours overnight, now I'm in this beautiful ecosystem for my gut health. And that could be simple as water in the morning with lemon. Maybe I'm doing I'm eating my breakfast, so my breakfast could be more in balance.
Not checking your phone first thing.
Not checking your phone. So again, I just got to understand, I'm not skipping breakfast. It could be delayed. It could be at 9 or 10 o'clock after my 12 to 14 hour fast, but I'm not skipping it because this is my prime.
So there's two camps. Fast, don't eat, lose weight. But what you're saying is what is more important than even weight. Before you check weight or care about weight, you're going to have optimal digestion.
Optimal health. Yes.
At the gut.
At the gut.
So it's really impossible to have optimal digestion without really feeding the body early.
You got to feed that. That's why I'm a big fan of the oatmeal on the run, the real quality, because that cacao nibs, coconut,
those microbiome.
Yep, my wheatgrass in the morning, I'm getting that.
An interesting thing for the viewers that think gut health and they're like, I don't even know what you're talking about. But when you think about the gut, your first line of defense, people think it's your immune system. It's actually your microbiome. And that microbiome can get damaged really quickly.
Right.
And those are the good bacteria, and that's, I don't know, 60 trillion microbes in your body.
I mean, we're not talking about this today, but if you don't have good bowel, urine, lungs, lymph, skin, that's your way.
You don't have good health.
You don't have good health.
Yeah.
So the first thing I ask them is like, tell me about your bowls. And they're like, I've never heard that before. And
back to bodybuilding, and I think everyone aesthetically like, well, what about this person? You've seen some people shredded, ripped up, strong, moving weight.
Yeah.
Terrible bowels.
Yep.
Long term, at some point, the
why would I want to get? And again, that was my whole thing. When I competed, I want to be. Obviously, I want to win.
You want to be big?
I want to be big. I want to be strong. I want to be lean. Whatever. I was never the biggest, never the strongest. But the point is, I want to get in the best shape I possibly could without losing my health. Health was number one.
Can be different.
Yep, lean. Wasn't taking any drugs, wasn't taking any creatine, no protein powder, the list goes on. So again, step number two is you want to optimize your digestion.
Garden.
Yep, and then on our website we have a great handout, which is Pre-Pro and Symbiotics.
Symbiotics.
And that's, eating an apple, and that list goes on. So just be intentional about that. How do I upgrade? Number three, it's beginning of the year, movement mindset. The number one benefit of moving my body is what it does for my mind. Helps me sleep better, calms my hormones. It's all of that. So planning your day, when am I going to move? You just walked us through that. You're like, it's 5 degrees outside. It's awful. But I had a plan that I'm going to do that. Now, if you said, hey, I have to pivot, I could go downstairs and do some calisthenics or dynamic warm-up or maybe some push-ups or body weight squats. But I just want to have that mindset around that.
So it's movement for your brain, movement for your body, so your musculoskeletal system, movement for your cardiovascular system, cardio, heart, vessels.
Movement for my gut health.
Movement for my gut health, lymphatic system. The most alarming stat, I came back from that conference, and the most alarming stat is the weight you lose from a GLP-1, 40% of it is muscle. And so what I'm worried about was I look at Oprah, and she looks good with her dress on, but she's lost a ton of muscle. And you hear that with the face and the butt and the skin, and but they're not moving. You can't move if you don't have fuel. You're not eating the fuel.
Right.
So GLP-1 might curb your appetite.
But as we age, you're making a great point. As we age, the number one thing I tell all my clients is you want to maintain or build your muscle as you age.
So for some people, it might prolong their life. For many people, it's going to, and I've said this before, it's going to decrease their life expectancy.
And then it decreases your range of what you can do in your life.
That's called function. That's like another tier.
My function is great.
Yeah. And that's, at 68 years old, how would you rate your function? I mean, not to compare to others, but like, Would you say it's pretty high?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's nothing I can do. You know, I like you always say in golf, I think I'm better than I am. So I still don't really going skiing or whatever it might be. I still think, I don't really think there's that much, but I'm smarter about it. I have self-awareness that I can't do
Well, function's important to you, isn't it?
That's why I spend
and a lot of your clients come to see you for that function. But I see a lot of people taking shortcuts because they're not even thinking about function.
Yeah, I'm not doing a bar squat on my back anymore, or a barbell bench press. That ship sailed a long time ago.
Right, so step 4.
So step 4, and one last thing on the step 3 is play and fun. Find activities this year that you enjoy doing, and it doesn't have to be. Step 4 is our last step, and it's all about behavior. We spend a lot of time talking about behavior, but make this simple. The behavior is what's driving the car. It's everything. You can get all these strategies and tactics, but the behavior, number 1 in the behavior is, what do you want? Get specific. Be intentional about it. Number 2, what is your why this year? This is a powerful driver. This is going to get you out of the mud, because we all are going to get in the mud. I heard Oprah talking about motivation. Motivation will disappear. You're not going to have motivation.
Yeah, she's right with that.
Yeah, completely. And you're never going to have the moon lined up perfectly, the sun and the stars. Nothing never, you said it. I don't feel like it today. You still did it, right? So that number is find that driver. And then after that, we now start doing baby steps. What's the one thing you're going to work on? How do you build a habit?
Or if a better word is habits.
Habits.
Baby steps, habits.
Yep. You want to get a habit. Start building a habit.
Not 10 habits.
And the last thing is, again, we want to measure and have the courage to measure, but the last one is the journey. I don't think we talk enough about the journey, because when you get uncomfortable, when you have down terms, this is where the good stuff happens.
But don't you think powerful belief creates a better journey? Because you're not going to get through the whole journey.
So hold on a second. So part of my journey is, number 1, you have to bring more hope back in your life. And number 2, you have to believe that this is going to work. The ships have sailed. I think for most of my clients, when I sit down with them, I want to know what their hope is on a 1 to 10 scale. And many times it's not very high. Let's go back. Let's give you some stats. Let's give you some resources. Let's give you some habits. Let's do this. And now you're starting to develop that hope and that belief. Because again, if you don't believe you can lose weight, or you don't believe you can do whatever, then you're not going to do that. So again, that's how I want to leave you, is the journey, create more hope, beliefs. It's a great time. And as you would like to talk a lot about, why not? Why not make this the year of doing something different and creating the life you're looking for?
Yeah, I like why not. And I think as we wrap this up, I talked about, the confusion and you're going to lose. And you're 68 years old. You don't, this doesn't really influence you, but we all get influenced. You like golfers and golf swings. And so you're going to make mistakes. So you can say,
okay.
Well, I'm wrong.
Pivot.
I shouldn't have been doing this. I'm just exposing, shining a light.
It's okay.
I'm 40 years old, but there's a huge generation behind us that I actually care a lot about. I'm going to be doing this a long time. You're still going to be doing this a long time. And it's going in my opinion, the wrong direction of this quick, instant gratification, aesthetics, and some good comes out of that. But I was leaving my presentation yesterday, and this woman comes up to me and she says, "Do you have anything I can say to my 13-year-old son that wants to drink energy drinks?" He's 13. And all over social media, you got the Paul brothers, and you got Prime, and you got Celsius, and you got Bloom, and all these different energy drinks, and better for you energy drinks, and cleaner energy drinks. And at the end of the day, we have to realize this is a great example of everyone listening. You're thinking, that's terrible that this 13-year-old's being influenced to take an energy drink at 13. Mm-hmm. No 13-year-old that I know should not have energy. And if they don't, they're not sleeping, they're not eating the right food. It's very simple solutions. But I don't have really that trendy thing on the flip side of the influencer saying how cool it is to have the energy drink. So I will never persuade this 13-year-old to think something else is cooler. His friends are doing it. And so we have to realize we got a confusion crisis happening. And the confusion crisis, again, it's not a conspiracy, but follow the money. When you look at Oprah, why is she promoting these so heavily? She doesn't need the money, but she's got books. She's got board members. She's got things that she's responsible for. Serena Williams, same thing. You know, her husband is the number one investor, and obviously she wants something. You know, it's not like she just
and they believe it.
Yeah, they may believe it. I'm going out there today because I can debunk all these things, but at the end of the day, if we continue to get our information and expect it to be education, we're in trouble. I don't want my doctor to be educated from social media. Same way I don't want you as the quarterback to your health to be educated from social media. Maybe it captivates you, engages you, takes you down a funnel to learn more. That's okay. And that's part of it. We do the same thing. We want people to be exposed to this, so we have to get their attention.
And I think one thing that is there is experience. You know, I mean, when you're riding a bike, you know how to ride a bike because you've ridden a bike. We've ridden the bike. We've ridden the bike for a long time.
And we've taught people how to ride the bike.
For a long time. And so it's not like the flavor of the day, because we're always going to have the flavor of the day, is that we have a process that I believe it's not easy, but it's founded, and we've done it for a long time.
And we've massaged it. It's not just like a process, do this exactly.
No.
Like many times people get frustrated. You didn't tell me exactly. We're giving you a framework.
Right.
Because everyone is different. Everyone adapts differently. But there is a framework. There's a foundational set of principles that I do think if you live by, you start to really navigate. You allow the common to come back in common sense.
And in the common and the common sense, and now you're teaching people how to pivot. And now they're doing what is best for them.
And now you know how to fish versus just eat the fish.
Correct.
So I hope you enjoyed this. I think this was fun. I want to do more of these types of things because we know that you're exposed to this. There's a bazillion podcasts. There's tons of social media every day, and it doesn't end. But I do think as you're listening to this, you're hopeful that you're trying to get educated, and we'll continue to do that.
Stop dabbling.
Stop dabbling. We'll see you again next time.